my waist going around my belly. When I first started carnivore, I got a 60-inch tape measure for measuring muscle and stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it together when I first started
So
carnivore.
you couldn't get
30
six
days,
around.
I was well over 60 inches around my belly.
Wow.
30 days in, and I was down to 58 inches. Last week, I was 37 and a half.
Huh. That's a
And
huge change.
it is. My pants went from size 48. I'm wearing size 34 today. I haven't done anything other than change what I eat. I just eat meat. That's the best thing I have ever done. Easiest diet I've ever done.
All right, folks, welcome to Ferrigno Freedom Channel. I'm Dante Ferrigno. We're back again with another carnivore conversation, and today we're going to have Lance Okeson on. He has been doing a carnivore diet now for how long?
Just about 7 months now.
About 7 months. Okay. He's had some remarkable gains and losses, so he's happy about what he's doing. But we're going to find out how it's been going. So, welcome, Lance. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce us to your history?
Well, my name is Lance. I live here in North Dakota. That's why I'm so pale right now. We don't get much sun like you do, Dante. um, I've been up and down in my weight for quite a long time now, and growing up, I was never overweight. I was always, pretty skinny. Started out with like graduating high school. I'm 6'3", and I was 170 pounds when I graduated. Um, Shortly after that, I joined the military. I got out of the military after just over 8 years, and I was still about 180 pounds, and that was all. Um, my wife's a good cook. It didn't take long, and I started gaining quite a bit of weight. Um, by the early mid 2000s, I was probably 250, 260. 20 was it 2012? That was the first time I hit 300 pounds. I did some insane workouts starting then, and I lost about 80 pounds then. It
Eight
took me
pounds?
4 years. Yeah, it took me 4 years to lose 80 pounds.
Oh, 80 pounds. Okay.
80 pounds. 80 pounds in 4 years. I had some heart issues, rapid heart rate. I was in AFib all the time.
After the insane workouts?
Yep. After I lost 80 pounds, I went into AFib, and I pretty much stayed in AFib. I was given a bunch of different medications over like about a year and a half before they just stopped working. I couldn't do anything. I had heart surgery in 2017. I went from about 212 pounds to 347 pounds
Mm.
from 2014 to December of 2023. After my surgery, I had really, really bad anxiety. I couldn't work out. I didn't do anything, and I just kept getting bigger. 2020, my blood pressure started to go a little bit out of whack. Talking like 210, 220 over 118, 120. So
Mm.
I got put on medications for that. And every one of the medications I ended up getting onto, one of the slight side effects was weight gain. I'm the slight person. I gained all the weight. So
You gained all the weight. So
I gained it all.
347 was your highest?
347 was my highest that I ever saw on a scale. Well, I might have been bigger, but
Yeah. Well, that sounds
where
kind of surprising because you were in sounds like you were in pretty great shape when you were in high school.
I
But
was,
it was just a
but
matter of eating what kind of diet got you it had to be diet if it was, or did you have a lack of exercise? You said you were in the military, so I assume you had regular exercise.
when I got out, it was a lack of exercise, and chasing 4 kids around wasn't enough exercise. But uh, but yeah, poor diet. A lot of breads, a lot of grains, I know now they're not good for me.
Well, it sounds like you were following the model that they had with the food
Oh
plan.
yeah, the standard American diet is what I was eating. That's what everybody ate. You had your brains, your fruits and vegetables, and your lean meats. And it didn't do me very good when I was doing all my workouts and stuff in the early 20 teens. I was on a really low fat diet, a lot of vegetables, a lot of lean meats, chicken, fish, hardly any red meats. I did lose a lot of weight, but everything still hurt. I have issues with one of my heels where I have a bone spur. Got that while I was in the military and never got fixed. It used to hurt me all the time. There were times I actually couldn't do my workouts because that was hurting so bad. But yeah, just this whole standard American diet it didn't work for me. That's for sure. I'd have to say it was back in July, maybe towards the end of June. I was sitting on the couch scrolling on TikTok, and I come across this guy talking about just eating meat, eggs, and he lost a bunch of weight. I'm like, this guy's got to be nuts. He said, yeah, do it, don't do it. I don't give a rip. It's Carnivore Ray. I love that guy. I like his videos. And that got me going down the rabbit hole because that night I saw a couple other videos from him. And that got me to go to YouTube where I started searching for carnivore diet. And I found Dr. Barry, Sean Baker, Dr. Chafee. I found you, Carrie Mann, a bunch of. I went down that for about 2.5 months. All I did was watch videos when I wasn't doing anything else. Finally, one day, it's actually August 22nd, my wife had been making me these egg bites. Piece of ham inside of a muffin tin, scrambled egg inside of it with some cheese, and that's what I'd bring to work for breakfast. She'd cook those. I'd bring 3 or 4 of them to work, and didn't bring anything to lunch with me that day. And I called my wife and said, I didn't bring anything for lunch today. She said, well, what do you want? I'm like, well, how about you run over to McDonald's and grab me 4 quarter-pound patties? And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, just grab me 4 quarter-pound patties. She's like, all right. That was my first carnivore meal. 4 McDonald's quarter-pound patties. Since then, I've been strict carnivore, beef, butter, bacon, eggs. I don't do a lion diet, but it's done a tremendous thing for me. I tried losing weight starting back in December when I was 347 pounds. I went to the doctor. She gave me a medication that was supposed to control my appetite to help me lose weight. December 2023 to August 2024, 8 months, I lost 12 pounds. That's just not getting anywhere. And I couldn't tell the difference in my body or anything. Wearing 3XL shirts, and they were tight, fit on me. My pants were size 44, and I was worried the buttons were going to pop on me. It's just something had to change. So August 22nd, I started the carnivore diet. And
what was that medication? Do you know?
Topamax.
Topamax, and what was it supposed to do to you or do for you?
Well, I don't remember what the original, what's originally for, but it was supposed to help curb my appetite so I didn't feel hungry, so I wouldn't eat as much. But I was still eating a standard American diet, which
so you were eating less, but it was still high quality garbage.
Absolutely high quality garbage is what it was.
Like, what's an example of what you were eating?
Oh, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, chicken, fried chicken, meatloaf, lasagna, tacos.
Yeah, sounds pretty standard American diet.
Yep. And I didn't mind not having the vegetables and stuff because I didn't really eat a whole lot of vegetables after at that point. But the meat and potatoes, a lot of meats, French fries, it's all the good stuff, But starting in August, it all changed for me. But the whole reason I wanted to lose weight to begin with was because I knew if I lost weight, there's a good chance that my blood pressure would come down. Over the first year and a half I was taking blood pressure medicines, I went from 1 blood pressure medication to 5.
Yeah, I saw that. 5 blood pressure medicines. That's a lot.
It was, and it still wasn't under control. It was still high, but that was the best that they could do with what they had. The doctor I
Were
was
one or
seeing,
two
actually,
of those were one or two of those diuretics?
yeah, one of them was that. So I was taking the losartan, and it was a max dose, and I was taking the HCTZ, which is the diuretic, and that was a max dose. Interesting thing about the HCTZ, that makes your triglycerides go up.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So
had to take that when I was taking lisinopril back in the day. They had it mixed with HCTZ, hydrochlorothiazide, I remember. But I
yep.
didn't know that it did that. I'm just glad I was off of it within about 30 days of doing carnivore.
Well,
So I know that you're off of those now. How long did it take for that to clear up?
well, actually, it was within the first 2 weeks. I got off the first one. It was a very low dose I took at night, and waking up in the morning, I was lightheaded and dizzy, and sat down, did my blood pressure, and it was down like 110 over 70. I was like, all right, I'm going to stop taking this one. I actually took that one twice a day. I took that in the morning and took it at night. So I skipped it that morning, but the next morning I started taking it again, and it was less than a week later. The same thing happened. I was starting to get lightheaded at work, and because this was happening, I'd been bringing my blood pressure cuff with me to work, check my blood pressure, and it was low again. So I'm like, all right, I'm done taking that one altogether. Within 3 weeks, I was off 2 of them. It took a little bit longer to come back down to normal after that. It was about another week or 2 weeks after that. I came off of the next one. For the last one, the losartan and the HCTZ, I actually went to the doctor and told her I'd changed my diet, my blood pressure had come down, and I'd gotten off of 3 of them already. And my blood pressure was actually really normal. It was a little low when I saw her, and I told her I wanted to get rid of the HCTZ. And she said, no, let's just cut them both in half. I'm like, no, let's get rid of the HCTZ. I'm done taking multiple medications. I'll take the losartan. I'll take that at the high dose, but I really wanted that one cut in half too, and she wouldn't do it. So she said, yeah, go ahead and just take the losartan. She said, if your blood pressure comes down, cut it in half and see if that works. 3 days later, I'd cut it in half, and my blood pressure stayed good. About 4 days later, I just stopped taking it. My blood pressure was fine. 3 days later, my blood pressure was up a little bit, so I took it for another couple of days at half a pill. Blood pressure went back down, and it's been down ever since. I stopped taking it. I got off all 5 of my blood pressure medicines in about 6 weeks.
Man, that's
So,
a big reversal because 5 is a lot. I know because I talk to people all the time and I have to ask them what kind of medicines that they take for their blood pressure. And usually 3 is enough to be alarm bells for us. But
yep,
5, like, yeah, that would be tough to overcome because that's a lot. So going from 5 to none in 6 weeks to me is a pretty doggone big deal.
yep,
Because when an insurance company looks at a marker for things like this, they're looking at, okay, this really changes things as far as whether or not they're insurable.
right.
And that just goes to show what a big killer high blood pressure is.
And it really is. It's a silent killer. When my blood pressure was at 210 over 110 or however high it was when I saw the doctor the first time, she was like, "Are you sure you feel all right?" Yeah, I feel fine. You don't have a headache or blurred vision or anything. I'm like, no, everything's normal. Everything's good. She said, all right. She couldn't believe I didn't have any symptoms or signs or anything. But that's why they call it the silent killers. It's what it does.
So you're on no blood pressure medicines now too?
Yep, no blood pressure meds.
What's your weight now?
My weight now, I'm at 242 pounds.
242. So from 347 to 242, that's
Yep,
105 pounds.
it's 105 pounds.
Do
Um,
you go to the
93,
gym at all?
93 pounds since August.
93 pounds since August.
Yep, took 12 pounds. I lost that in 8 months.
That's
In
right.
6.5 months, I lost 93 pounds.
Yeah.
So
That's a big difference. And have you been hungry?
no, not really. And when I am hungry, I do eat. So when I first started, I was eating 2 to 3 meals a day, first couple of weeks, and then I went to just breakfast and dinner. And sometime back in December, I just wasn't hungry in the mornings, and I just come home and I'd eat a ribeye and some ground beef or ribeye and eggs, uh, like New York strip, just plain ground beef ground up and throw a couple eggs in it.
So when you
It's,
first started, what was the day like? I know you mentioned having four hamburger patties to get started.
yeah. Well, to start with, I was eating 8 to 10 eggs in the morning with about 4 ounces of either ground sausage or ground beef, or sometimes bacon. Actually, we eat a lot of bacon still, but I'd have that for breakfast. Lunchtime, I'd have a couple of hamburger patties brought from home and just warmed up at work. And then at night, I was either ribeye or a New York strip. Uh, we'd do a pot roast, chuck roast every now and then. Um, my wife is a type 2 diabetic, and she told me she wouldn't do this diet. And she still says she's not, but she doesn't eat fruit. She doesn't eat vegetables. She doesn't eat carbohydrates anymore. So she's doing the diet. She just won't admit it.
Is she
And
still dairy?
she hasn't. Yeah, she does dairy. Not as much as she used to. Um, she's got the CGM, so she sees when her blood sugar spikes. So she sees what's causing her blood sugars to spike up. But she dropped her A1C from a 15 to an 8.7 in 2 months.
So
So
she's eating what you're eating anyway.
yeah,
Do
she
you guys
is
eat together?
kind of. I make my steak and stuff, and then she doesn't really care for steak. She's got um, some issues with her teeth. She actually just had all of her teeth removed to get dentures, so she's going to be doing that. But yeah, she eats pretty much everything that I eat except for steak. She eats a lot of eggs now, a lot of bacon, ground beef, pork. But she, after she had her teeth pulled, she did have a few things that have carbohydrates, like some soups, just so she could have food. But she watched her blood sugars go up, and she didn't care for that. So, but
Yeah.
she's had really good luck. She was on two different medications for it, Victoza, and she did Ozempic for about 5 weeks. And she didn't like that, and I agreed with her. She got off that. That's when she started eating like I did. And that was in November, and then by January, her A1C was at 8.7. So she's doing really good on it.
Well, that's good. I mean, especially since she's acting like she's not on it. So, well, I hope I hope when she sees this, she doesn't get like, oh, well, if you think no,
Oh no,
it's good though. It's good to see that she's having a reversal as well, and you've had such progress. I mean, 97 pounds you say was the actual carnivore loss?
93 so far.
93. 93.
I've got 3 more pounds to lose to get out of the obese category for my height. I got to be at 239 pounds, and then I'm no longer obese. I'm just overweight.
What about any
But
other medications? Were you on any other medications before this?
just allergy pills. I've had allergies for probably about 30 years now, and there's the last 10 years or 12 years I've been taking my allergy meds every day, 365 days, because if I don't, I can't breathe. Most of last summer I spent indoors because I couldn't go outdoors. I stopped taking that back in September, and I haven't had to use it in over 6 months now.
That's great. You know, because I don't remember what it is, but I remember there was something that long term taking antihistamines was not good for you. And
Yeah,
I think that's true probably with most of these medications, taking them long term, sometimes even short term is not good for you.
They're
Yeah,
not.
it's good to be able to get off of that stuff. So you don't take any medications now, and you're what, 58?
58 years old. I don't take any medication. I do take a supplement in the wintertime because we lack our sunshine here. So I do take the D3 K2. But other than that, that's all I take.
Well, there's nothing wrong with getting a little bit of supplement, especially for something like that, because it is difficult when you live that far north to be able to get that sunshine. And a lot of people, if anybody doesn't know that, the best way to get your D3 is to get it from sunlight. Your skin synthesizes D3 that way. And, you can take vitamin D3, but it doesn't quite absorb the same way. So
Right.
you got to take a lot of it for it really to count. How big of a dose are you taking? Do you know?
Taking the 5,000 IU and of D3 and 100 of the K2.
Is that a daily one?
Yeah, it's daily.
Okay. Yeah, I hear that's the best way to do it. I've been doing a 50,000 that's weekly, but I know Dr. Barry talked about how it's better to do them smaller doses in a shorter period of time because apparently you can't synthesize all of it in the amount of time that it would take and you get gaps.
Yeah. And, okay, I'm up here in North Dakota. We had a really nice cold spell in February. Temperatures down to negative 36 degrees with the wind chills up in 60 to 70 below zero. It's crazy. Last week we had temperatures approaching 60, and I'm standing outside in 58 degrees in a t-shirt, just standing there soaking up the sun because it felt so nice to be out without having to wear a jacket and a hat and stuff. It was just wonderful. And today we got an inch of snow on the ground, so it's back down in the 30s again.
So you haven't had a chance to realize the benefit that some people notice when they go on a carnivore diet where you have a difficult time getting a sunburn.
I'm looking forward to testing that out this summer.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see how you do. Now, I will tell you that I don't believe that anybody would say that they can't get a sunburn, but it definitely is a lot harder for me too. Now, I spend a good bit of time in the sun, as much as I possibly can anyway, even though I work indoors now and I spend a lot more time indoors than I'd like to. Um, Getting into the sun, though, I could go. We went rafting like 4 hours with the kids and everything. And the kids had SPF 50 on. And when we got done, one of them had like third, not, I don't know what it is, whatever the first level is, third degree or first degree, whatever the burns are, where it was technically that she had burned herself from being out in the sun. And the other ones just felt bad, but at least one of them threw up from it. I didn't get a sunburn at all. I didn't have any sunscreen on. And normally I would have to be one that put sunscreen on all the time. Now, I did one time fall asleep out by the pool at my brother's house, and I had already been out there for several hours by the time that happened. And I woke up, it was dark, but I had a sunburn. It wasn't
Yeah.
as bad as it normally is. It did peel, but it didn't hurt as bad. So you do have to be careful. You can still get a sunburn, but it's a lot harder than it used to be.
Well, 20 years ago, I never used to get burned. Um, we'd go out and do stuff in the summer, and the kids always had the SPF on, and I never ever used any of that stuff. And I'd be out there, no shirt, and my back would be red when we got home, but the next day it'd be tan. I never had sunburns, and except for in the last 20 years, I've had a few sunburns. I've had a couple up here.
Yeah, everybody keeps telling me I got to be careful when I go out in the sun. I'm like, I really don't have to be as careful as you think now because when you don't have seed oils, I think that's what everybody has come to the consensus that that's the reason why is the seed oils that there's so many of them in our foods now. Whereas you mentioned 20 years ago you didn't have that problem. 20 years ago it wasn't as pervasive as it is now.
Right. I agree that the seed oils they're everywhere. Even in seasonings, you look at seasonings, they're in the seasonings for whatever reason. They put them in there. Yeah, my wife has gotten really good at looking at labels, and a lot of what she does now is just we avoid the center parts of the store because there's nothing in there that we want to eat. But she does still look for our son and for our grandkids when they come over, and she's trying not to buy stuff with seed oils, even for them to have. So I'd like for all my grandkids to stop eating that, but that's not for me to decide for them.
So one of the things a lot of people claim is an issue for them to get started on a carnivore diet is the cost. What do you think about the cost? Have you noticed any cost benefits or cost attractions that make it difficult?
But for me and my wife, it's a lot cheaper for us to eat. Um, go to Costco, and the last time we were there, we picked up a primal ribeye and a strip loin, and I cut them into steaks myself. And between that and the ground beef that we buy, that lasts us for well over a month. And a few $100s, and it lasts us 6 weeks, 7 weeks sometimes. It's a lot cheaper. You're not buying all the sides and all the junk that goes with it. We're not buying the snacks to eat at night and all that stuff. So yeah, it actually saves a lot of money by going carnivore and not buying all the other junk that you're expected to eat.
What about eating out?
We don't eat out very much anymore. The last time we out was actually just a few weeks ago, and that was at the Longhorn Steakhouse. And I just ordered my steak, and she ordered her the whatever chicken it was that she wanted. No sides, no nothing. And to my surprise, it actually my steak came out with just salt on it. It didn't have their Longhorn seasonings on it.
You didn't
So
ask for it that way? They just happened to be that way?
it just came out that way, which was perfect because I have
Huh.
my own salt, the red or the real salt. I just use that instead. And it came out perfect, just the way I wanted it. But we really haven't gone to anywhere to eat. We have gone out when I first started. We did go out for breakfast a few times when my wife hadn't started eating this way. So yeah, that way I just get you know eggs over easy or a 3 egg meat omelet. So no sides and just extra bacon.
Well, it's got to be nice that she's, eating the same as you are. It makes it easier, I would assume. Did it was it
Yeah.
was it more difficult before she joined you along this?
No, actually, my wife has been very supportive. I explained to her what I was going to be doing and why I was doing it, and she said, "Okay." And she actually likes it because when it comes to meat, I cook meat. So she eats meat, I cook it. So she likes that. I'll get up in the
Okay.
morning on the weekends and I make her breakfast in bed and you know, surprise her most weekends with something to eat right before she even gets out of bed.
But
She enjoys.
But even when you first started eating this way, and she wasn't eating this way, was it difficult for you to like? You'd see her eating the things that you wanted to eat. Did it make it hard, or were you just satiated from the?
No, the eating the ribeye or the New York strip or whatever I ate was I was full. And I'm one of the lucky people that in this aspect that I decided to do carnivore and I don't care what anybody else is eating. This is what I'm eating, and it doesn't bother me one bit. In fact, the guys at work, about every other Friday, I still go buy breakfast pizzas for them and bring it to work. And it doesn't bother me that they eat it in my office, sitting right there. It doesn't bother me at all. Uh, I just give it up cold turkey. It's
So okay? You get them pizzas. Well, that's what they want, right?
yeah,
You get them
that's what they
steaks
eat.
though if they wanted that, right? I'm just joking.
Yeah, maybe not as often.
Yeah, it would be a little harder. I understand. No, I'm just joking. Um, yeah, well, I was just curious of how, because I know a lot of people would be interested to know how the difficulties were getting started and if you had any difficulties. Like initially, did you have any problems?
No, not really. I There may have been a day or two where my body wasn't quite adjusted, and a little loose stool. But other than that, my body adjusted really easy to it. I didn't have any issues with energy or anything like that. Um, Cramps, I do have, I did have issues with leg cramps, um, and I used to get this cramp in my foot. It felt like my foot was twisted inside out on the inside.
Yeah.
That was bad. But I kind of figured that out, and that's drinking too much water. So I
Drinking
was
too
flushing
much.
out any, yeah. I'd take an electrolyte drink, and I'd drink that during the day, and then if I drank just one more glass of water or another mug of water for like another 30 ounces or so, I was okay. If I went above that, then I'd cramp at night. So I just got to make sure I don't drink too much water because then it flushes out all the electrolytes.
What does your salt intake look like?
I use a lot of salt actually. Still, I use a lot more than I used to. I salt everything, and I do the one electrolyte drink in the morning, and then when I eat my dinner, a lot of times my wife will dry brine the steak. If I'm having steak, she'll dry brine it and let it sit out all day, and then cook it like that. And I'll put more salt on it to taste. I don't think I've ever gotten a steak where I've had too much salt on it, but I use a lot more salt now.
You have the one mineral water in the morning? Do you have salt added to any of your drinks during the day?
No,
Okay.
just the one electrolyte during the day, and as long as I keep it under 30 ounces of water after that, I'm pretty good. I don't have cramps, but if I like over the weekend here, we go to hockey games for our NHL team, and I drank a couple bottles of water there, and that night I did cramp up, so I didn't have any more salt with anything or another electrolyte drink. But I should have known better.
So I see you're wearing a Healing Humanity t-shirt there. How did you get involved with Healing Humanity? What's your role? Do you have a role, or are you a follower or a fan?
I'm just a fan, a follower. Kerry Mann was one of the first carnivore videos I saw on YouTube. I like what he did. His story about healing his what was it, congenital heart failure. That really stuck with me, and that the movement that he's doing the documentary for Healing Humanity, the power of proper human diet. And that's what we're eating here. Is we're the only species on this planet that doesn't eat their species specific diet. Everybody else does. I guess I got a membership for their site. I go on there and I read through stuff. I like their Zoom calls that they have. I've been on a few of those. Kerry's just got that passion that he just really connects with people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he definitely has a passion for it. He's taken it and run with it, and he's making something great with it. I hope the documentary, when it comes out, does make it. They're trying to get it on Netflix. That's the goal, is to get it out there where the world can really know about what it has done for people like yourself and me, and you've probably seen some of the others as they're working on it, like Bill Knott up in Alaska.
yeah, I like Bill.
What an amazing story.
He is. He's lost a tremendous amount of weight.
So what is your doctor? Have you seen your doctor again since the first time you saw him?
No, and I don't plan on going back for until I've been on this for a year. My cholesterol levels were always way out of whack. My triglycerides were tremendously high. Um, my HDL was always low. My LDL was always high, and they always want to put me on a statin. I did take one for about 2 weeks once, and I was like, that was the worst pain I've ever had in my joints ever. I won't ever ever do that again. But I know a lot of people have issues with their cholesterol and their LDL being high in the first year. So I figured I'll wait till my 1 year mark or a little bit later and then go have it tested again and see where it's at.
So did they have you tested for any of this when you went after your first couple of months?
She did a lot of blood work, and Yeah, my LDL, that's all. My triglycerides were way out of whack. My LDL was high, which I knew it would be, and just about everything else was pretty good.
But you say they were out of whack for a long time.
Yeah, I can go back and look at different tests from the last few years, and my LDL and my HDL were always out of whack. My overall cholesterol was always high. My triglycerides were really higher. It's always been that way. They've always been different. Even when I was in the military, my my cholesterol was out of it a lot.
So you don't know any of the numbers themselves, though.
Not off the top of my head. I
Okay.
just know my triglycerides were like in the 180s. My LDL was well over 150, and I think my HDL was like in the 30s. So my
Okay.
HDL was really low.
Well, I would expect you're going to see some changes there, because that was the amazing thing to me is that my HDL was considered high, but the doctor said high is not a bad thing. And then my triglycerides the last time, which were 37, I believe, were considered low. And they said, well, it's low because it's lower than normal, but it doesn't mean it's bad. So it's actually good. That combination of a higher HDL and lower triglycerides, combine that with your waist span to your height, and it's like a huge marker for your metabolic health.
My waist going around my belly. When I first started carnivore, I got a 60-inch tape measure for measuring muscle and stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it together when I first started
So
carnivore.
you couldn't get
30
sick
days,
around.
I was well over 60 inches around my belly.
Wow.
30 days in, and I was down to 58 inches. Last week, I was 37 and a half.
Huh. That's a
And
huge change.
it is. My pants went from size 48. I'm wearing size 34 today.
Huh. Size 34. So
Yeah.
how does your wife feel about all this change with you?
She likes it. She keeps telling me my face is so much thinner and my body is so much thinner. I I still don't see it. To me, I'm still that fat guy looking at myself in the mirror. But well, that's changed. It's a big difference. I mean, going from this is a 1XL T-shirt, and my 3XLs were tight, and my belly was just huge. My one of my granddaughters used to call me Big Belly Papa because I had a big belly. Back in December 2023, when I had a beard, it was all white. I could play Santa. I didn't need any padding. It's a big difference.
Well, it certainly sounds like you've had a heck of a change. And how is it? Has it changed anything for you on the mental health side or anything with your spiritual life? Anything better as far as the way your outlook is?
My mental health is tremendously better. I'm here doing this with you. This is something I would have never done before. I would have never been on YouTube. I've never been on. Uh, I took myself off social media back in 2020 altogether. I didn't do anything. Yeah, I'm much happier. I used to be the grumpy old guy. Now I actually smile and I'm happy. The guys at work even notice that I'm a lot better now than I was before. I'm easier to get along with, easier to talk to. That makes a huge difference. Just the general well-being and happiness.
That's definitely a positive that I noticed as well, is just feeling better. But it was interesting that you mentioned that you feel like you're still a big guy when you look in the mirror. Do you feel that way when you look in the mirror, or you just feel that way all the time?
Well, like right now, I feel that way, but I know if when I look in the mirror, I can still see that. Yeah, I've lost a lot of weight, but I still. It's only been 7 months since I was really big,
Yeah.
and it's still haven't come to terms with losing all that weight. It's a lot of weight to lose. We have a water cooler here. Grab 2 5-gallon bottles of water. That's just over 80 pounds. Pick both of them up at the same time. I weighed more than that.
Yeah.
I've lost that much weight. Those are heavy.
Yeah, I know. I got to pick them up too. I just recently finally got a water purification system installed under the sink because I got tired of having to go to the store all the time. I didn't mind carrying them in and out. It was just always I'd drive up there to get them and have all the empties to swap out, and they wouldn't have any new ones in stock. And it's like a 30-minute drive there and a 30-minute drive back. And that's the only reason I went was to get water.
Right. So I remember doing that. Luckily, our store right here is just like 2 blocks from our house. So
Yeah, but it's something carrying that around, and you think about, and I took this everywhere and then some
right.
everywhere. It's a remarkable change. The reason I asked, though, about that is because I noticed it. I mentioned it in a previous stream or something where I was talking to folks, is that I walked into a bathroom recently at a nice place, and it had this huge mirror right when you walk in the bathroom door. And I thought, man, I look good. That was the first thought that I had because I still think of myself as being a heavy guy. That's
Right.
the weird thing is even after 4 years, I still have a mental image that I'm a big guy. And it shocks me when I see myself in the mirror. So I was wondering if it was something like that, or if you still just feel like you haven't reached the weight that you want and you're still approaching it.
Well, no, I think it's a lot of what you said. It's not. I'm not used to seeing it yet. I'm getting close to the weight I want to be at. So I just want to lose that last 3 pounds and be overweight. But it's just it's a lot of looking at yourself in the mirror, and then for the past 9 years or so, I've been really heavy. It's been a rough one, and I still see myself like that because even before that, 4 years before that happened, I was 300 pounds, lost weight, and I got back up, but I was eating the same diet. The only difference was I stopped my exercise because my doctor, before I had my heart surgery, took me off of everything healthy. I thought I was doing healthy, the working out, the protein shakes and stuff that I was taking. Took me off all that because he wanted to make sure that wasn't what it was that was causing me to be an AFib all the time. So, and as soon as I stopped doing that, my weight just started coming right back on. Now, in the past 7 months, I may have worked out, and by working out, I'm saying walking on a treadmill. I think I've walked on a treadmill maybe 5 times, and I've lifted weights twice. I haven't done any workouts, and I've lost more weight than I did when I was working out 6 days a week. Came off a lot easier too.
Do you think you might be able to get to your goal weight quicker if you were to add some more?
Well, each time this is strange for me. When I used to do insanity and stuff, I lost a lot of weight doing that, but it took 4 years to do it.
And by
When
that you mean the Sean T
oh,
insanity
absolutely.
workout, the beach body workout. I
Yep.
did that too, man. That was insane.
It was. I did insanity. I did the asylum. I did the asylum volume 2. I've done T25, Insanity Max 30. I love Sean T's workouts. I mean, they'd make you sweat. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
make you
Uh,
strong.
yeah, and I did that for 4 years, and that was a long time.
Yeah,
It took less than 2 years after not working out for me to get back up to like 280, 290. It didn't take long at all, and that was the same diet, standard American diet. Lean meats, breads, fruits and vegetables, processed foods. I spent a lot of the last 20 years being well overweight. So being down 93 pounds or 105 pounds from my heaviest it's still hard for me to see that. It's, I'm, I'm blown away by it. I'm amazed by it because I haven't done anything other than change what I eat. I just eat meat. That's the best thing I have ever done. Easiest diet I've ever done.
you see yourself getting tired of it anytime?
No, not at all. I never liked vegetables anyway. Don't really care for fruits, so I just beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Who doesn't love bacon and eggs? We cook about 5 pounds of bacon a week here. So my wife loves bacon.
Have you thought about doing something like lion diet where you only eat ruminant animals to see if it would make a difference to exclude the non-ruminants, if there was anything that would improve?
I've thought about it a couple of times about doing it, but I wanted to do it after I get down to in the 230-pound range. I want to get down a little more before I do that because I know I'm going to end up losing more if I do that, most likely, because eating steak is, I can eat a pound of ground beef and still eat more. That pound of steak with the fat still on it, because when I cut my own steaks, I leave the fat on there, the extra fat. I leave that on there, so I eat all that. So it's, you're just fuller eating a pound of steak with more fat on it than a
Yeah.
ground beef. So I've thought about it. I've debated it. And it's probably going to happen soon.
Well, I just wondered because you were talking about how you felt like it hadn't gotten to where it needs to be yet. And that's just one extra step. Sometimes people find out, oh wow, eggs did make a difference for me, or maybe having pork did have a difference for me. But the only way to know is really to try, and you might see some changes that you didn't expect.
That's with cheese too. I've had issues with cheese.
Definitely. Talk about that for a moment.
Well, when I eat too much cheese, I notice the difference in just how I feel in general, and um, I notice that the biggest any slowdown I've had in losing weight has always been anytime I've had a lot of cheese. If I use that as like a condiment or just a little bit of fresh grated Parmesan cheese on some meat or something, it doesn't bother me. But if I eat cheese as like a snack or a block of cheese with my meal, it makes a big difference. I can really tell the difference, and then I feel all a little bloated after I have cheese. I'm not a big dairy person to begin with, so I do better without it.
You have a difficult time going to the bathroom when you eat too much cheese, or just eating cheese in general?
No,
No?
not really. No, I actually haven't had any real issues with it other than the first time I did a 48-hour fast and I ate too much food at to break it. Within a couple hours, I knew I ate too much. I've done a couple of fasts now that I think I got figured out. So it's just a small meal, wait for an hour, and then I can eat a larger meal, and that seems to be what works best for me anyway.
Well, if there was anybody out there that was where you were when you started, that's watching this video right now, what would you have to say to them if you could tell them maybe what you would tell yourself if you could go back to the time period just before you found out about the carnivore diet?
Well, from the time I found out about it to begin with, I'd tell them don't wait too long. Go to YouTube University, look up the good doctors on carnivore, Dr. Berry, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Baker, Tony Hampton, Carrie Mann. Look up watch more of your videos, but don't take too much time. It's the best thing you're gonna do. It's the easiest diet that you can ever go on. It's just meat. Basically, anything that comes from an animal is healthy for you. Eat it. Give up the processed foods. Give up the sugars. They're nothing but poison.
And I even like to point out it's not diet you're going on, it's getting off of all the stuff we've added to the diet that humans used to eat for thousands of years. That's the thing, is we're getting away from all the bad diet. We're getting back to a natural diet. And
Yep.
that's what's so amazing about meat. And then sometimes I like to also point out to people that bread and wheat and fruits and vegetables, they aren't what they were thousands of years ago. They have been crossbred and genetically modified and changed. And then also they've been sprayed with different things for like glyphosate or other things that make them ripen or prevent them from ripening while they're in transit. You know, there's so many different things that are involved with all the fruits and vegetables that it's hard to even find anything that's natural in that form anymore. So that's why meat is still such a natural form that is great for people. And that's why Lance has had such results. At least I would say that's the reason why. And I know it's the reason why I've had the results I've had. Because between the two of us, we've stopped carrying around about 5 of those 5-gallon jugs of water. That's a lot of weight we're not carrying around anymore. And not having to take those medicines. How does it feel not having to, if you know that you don't have any medicines anymore and once your doctor takes you off, can you imagine how long has it been that you were on medications?
The medicines I was taking, I was on for about 4.5 years.
So you already got into the mode of, I got to go see my doctor so I can get my refills. I don't get my refills, I don't get the medicine I need.
Absolutely. And I've never liked going to the doctor to begin with, so this actually works out better for me as I don't have to go see the doctor anymore.
Yeah, only if you need to go see him, like maybe you need some injury care or something like that because you're going to be too healthy to need to bother with him, hopefully.
Right. And I know you hear from a lot of people that, well, the only reason that your blood pressure came down is because you lost all that weight. No, I lost maybe 15 pounds in the first 6 weeks. That's not why my blood pressure came down. I got rid of the inflammation inside of my body. I got my insulin levels down. That's another thing doctors don't ever test for. They don't test for your insulin.
Yeah.
So you don't know what your insulin is.
They never check that.
They'll check your A1C and they'll check your glucose, but they won't check your insulin. The insulin marker is an important marker to look at because too much insulin, it causes inflammation. And one of those inflammations is high blood pressure.
Yeah, because it's affecting all of your organs, which is going to affect your blood pressure. Absolutely. Yep. Well, I think your story is exactly what somebody needed to hear. Hopefully, it's going to be somebody that was watching today that realized that they need to get started on a carnivore way of eating. It doesn't necessarily have to be lion diet like I do. You can do a standard carnivore diet the way Lance is doing, but do something different. That's for sure. If you're looking around and you're thinking to yourself, why do I have a 48-inch waist or whatever the size of your waist is, and you think that's bigger than it should be, it isn't that hard to make a change. It's just a matter of deciding that you're going to do that and then finding the support that you need from people out there, like he said, here on YouTube. And we've got an amazing support community. I had no idea that this was here when I first got started. So if you're watching this and you haven't started, this is a great opportunity to know that there is support available. There's support at places like Healing Humanity, where he was talking about. You can go out there and check out healinghumanity.movie and find out about the carnivore movie that's being made. You can also go to ferrignofreedom.com and you can check out everything that I have there. And if you have a carnivore story that you would like to tell here on a carnivore conversation like Lance did today, you can also do that at ferrignofreedom.com when you click on the tab that says Your Story, and then you can submit your information and be on a carnivore conversation so that you can share the information that has changed your life so that you can help change somebody else's life. Well, that's all I got for this one today, guys. Lance, it was a pleasure having you here today. I hope you'll stick around for a moment once we get done. And folks, we appreciate you coming in and watching. Take care.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?
Hey, it's Dante Ferrigno. I just wanted to thank you first of all for watching this video, but I also wanted to tell you about my merch shop. I have a link in the description for a bunch of different items I've put together for you to be able to show your support for the carnivore lifestyle, and every purchase helps me to keep doing what I'm doing here on Ferrigno Freedom.